Some things are just too much fun. I had a lot of fun making this soup because this soup was made out of a lot of leftovers, really. First of all, the meat was about to expire. It's been in the freezer, and tomorrow would be the expiration date. I didn't want to throw it out, so I had to do something with it. So you may want to look through your freezer and take a look at the expiration date of your meat and make this soup. First things first, I had a large potato and I had some celery, about, I don't know, 2-3 stalks of celery, I guess. And it was just a matter of cutting up the celery into little pieces. And of course, I did the same thing with the potato. Cut up the potato in little pieces. After all, what is meat without potatoes? Potatoes and meat, right? That's about as traditional as you can get. Needless to say, as for that beef that's about to expire, chop that up too, in little bite-sized pieces. This is actually the first stage. I think you can call it the first stage. So I had the celery, I had the potato, I had the beef. On the beef, I added a lot of salt and pepper because that's basically what I wanted to do. It's just salt and pepper, beef, potato, celery. Then it was time for the coconut oil. I did melt some coconut oil because the beef, I didn't want to cook it without it being brown. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look right. So in the frying pan it went, and I browned the beef. I guess that's what you call it. Whatever it is, you fry the beef, but it's not really cooked, but it is brown. So that's what I did. While the coconut oil, frying pan, and beef was in there doing their thing, you know, browning the beef in coconut oil, I made myself busy. The potato and the celery I put in a plastic bag. And in the plastic bag, of course, I added some flour. I also added some salt and pepper, a little bit of flour, salt and pepper, maybe about 2 tablespoonfuls of flour. And in the bag it went. Then I shook up the bag because I wanted these things to be coated. Now let me tell you why. Because I wanted these things to add a little bit of body to my soup. When I got done with the marriage between the celery, potato, thyme, salt and pepper being shook up in the bag, as they say, the beef was ready. It was nice and brown and it was ready. This, of course, was the first stage of this marvelous soup. Then into the pot it went, and I added enough water in the pot to cover everything. And then its journey began. Its simmering journey began. I simmered all of this for about an hour, hour and 15 minutes or so, and that seemed like about enough time. Once all the ingredients were in the pot, water added, I bring it all to a boil, put the lid on, and allowed it to simmer as I said before. But I was not lazy. On to phase 2. Phase 2 was to make some spinners, as my friend called them, twisters. Very simple really. About a cup of flour, I added about a teaspoon of baking powder, and of course water. Into the dough, make them all into a dough rather, spin them in my hands, and then I added them to the pot. Once added to the pot, of course, you bring it all to a boil again, And once it starts to boil, you put it back on simmer for an additional 35-40 minutes or so. And of course, don't forget to put the lid on the pot while it's simmering. This to me is the fun part, creative part of my soup making. So, it's been simmering now for, almost 2 hours or so. So, I added my onion, scallion, tomato, thyme, all the goodies that I like. You be creative and add the things that you like. And this, of course, I added about 15 minutes prior to serving my nice hot soup. Prior to serving, of course, I took the thyme out, discarded that. I was lucky enough to have a guest who used such words as delicious. The twisters were very, very good. She's talking about the spinners, of course. And I thought the soup was exquisite. The perfect soup for a very cold day.